Husband left her days after she got paralyzed, but she finally got her revenge. Kelly and Richard had been married for 14 years and had 4 beautiful children together. Kelly was an amazing mother. She was very active and present in her children's lives. She was physically active and loved to exercise regularly and cook delicious and healthy meals. Everyone thought they were the perfect family. Tragically, when Kelly was just 37 years old, she suffered a spinal stroke that paralyzed her from the waist down. These strokes occur when there is a disruption in blood supply to the spinal cord. Only 1.25% of strokes are spinal. But sadly for Kelly, she was one of the very few unlucky people that were told they would never be able to walk again because of this stroke. Speaking about the day it happened, Kelly recalls, "I was at home one day with Logan. I can't remember exactly what happened, but I fell down a complete flight of stairs, and Logan had to call for help." She continues, "I had a car accident 18 months previous, and they said that could have caused problems in my spine. But other than that, I was a fit and healthy woman, and there was no other reason why this would happen." As if things weren't bad enough, her husband left her and their kids just 5 days after her heartbreaking stroke. Without him, the only people Kelly had that could provide help and support were her family and the hospital staff. On the 5th day of her hospital stay, they informed her that it could take anywhere between 6 months and a year for her to recover from this. "At the time, I felt like giving up, but I knew I had to be strong for my children," she recalls sadly. "The first time I went out in a wheelchair, I thought everyone was looking at me. I hated it and hated myself. If someone had given me a choice, I would have ended my life. I didn't want to live anymore. But the other patients on the ward were amazing. I received so much support from them, and they encouraged me to get out of bed every day," she smiled. Kelly had spent so many hours in physio before she miraculously was able to take her first step on the parallel bar. This was only 2 weeks after doctors informed her that she would probably never be able to walk again. She speaks about it with pride and deep emotion. "I was dragging my body, and I had no feeling in my legs, but I didn't care," she said. "I was walking, and that's all that mattered." Only a few months later, she decided to search for a personal trainer on Facebook. She was doing well, but she knew she wanted more help. That was when Keith Mason stepped in. She speaks about Keith and says, "No personal trainers wanted to work with me, but somebody recommended that Keith did a little bit in his spare time." That was how she ended up working with Keith. Even after her sessions with Keith was over, he frequently contacted her to ask her about how she was doing and to check in on her progress. "After our sessions, Keith and I stayed in contact. He would ask me how I was getting on, and our relationship blossomed from there," Kelly said. Keith was everything her ex-husband was not, and there was no denying the butterflies that were blossoming in her stomach. "And then one day Keith asked me out for coffee, and we picked up from where we left off," Kelly said. "I just couldn't believe a gorgeous rugby player wanted to date a disabled woman like me." They had a bond that went well beyond that of trainer and client. They had found love. Kelly credits a lot of her progress to the amazing support system she has at home with her family, friends, and, of course, newfound love, Keith. "Keith says I inspire him, but he encourages me every day and understands and sees the pain that I am in," Kelly said. "He has been amazing with me and the children, and I love him more each and every day. I thank the Lord for bringing my soulmate into my life. Apart from my children, I have never loved anyone the way that I love my best friend. He's shown me the true meaning of a loving relationship. A relationship that's strong. That works in harmony. That compromises. That's loyal and true and, above all, a relationship that just works so perfectly." Physically, Kelly is also progressing in leaps and bounds. "I now only need my wheelchair to go long distances, but my home hasn't been adapted, so I try not to use it," she said. "I'm now back in the gym, and with Keith's help, I'm getting better and stronger than ever." She has since completed 2 marathons with her wheelchair and continues to raise funds for spinal cord/stroke research. In fact, they've started their own charity. Much like Kelly, 18-year-old Chris Norton's life changed in the blink of an eye. Ever since he was a young boy, he knew exactly what he wanted to be when he grew up, a professional football player. He was an ambitious young man with a bright future ahead, but life had other plans for him. It was a sunny Saturday morning, and Chris woke up with excitement. It was the big game against Central College, and he felt prepared to take the trophy home. The game started, and everybody excitedly watched. Chris was giving it his all, until he made one fatal miscalculation. Chris's body hit the grass and the crowd gasped. The whole field got quiet and all he could hear was the crowd's anxious whispers. However, he didn't pay them any attention, but rather, he was focused on the fact that he couldn't move. His mind began to wander to the worst-case scenario. After the doctors examined Chris, he informed him that he fractured his C3-C4 vertebrae. To add insult to injury, the doctor told Chris that there was only a 3% chance that he would be able to move his body below his neck. The future Chris spent years building was destroyed in a matter of hours. Chris was a fighter, and he was taught to never give up in what he believed in. He was determined to prove the doctor wrong, and so that was what he did. 1 year after his diagnosis, Chris started the Chris Norton Foundation that was aimed to assist those with spinal cord and neuromuscular conditions to get their lives back on track. He managed to raise more than $800,000 for his foundation. He did not do this all on his own, as he had a great support network around him. It was Norton's goal to walk the stage at his college graduation, and that was all the motivation he needed. In order to achieve this, he even relocated to Michigan to work with Mike Barwis, a physical therapist. Mike taught Chris so many important lessons, including just because of his injury, he shouldn't stop living his life. So he decided to join a dating app, but things weren't going as he hoped. Finding love wasn't easy, and Chris felt like his circumstances made things even more difficult. However, as soon as he and Summer started talking, he knew he was speaking to the love of his life. For someone to look past my injury and my physical challenges, and instantly I knew, Emily, she didn't see that she saw me for who I was, and I instantly had a connection with her, he explained. Even though Chris found love, he knew his fight wasn't over just yet. Chris worked hard for months, and it was finally time to receive his college diploma. Once his name was called, the entire auditorium fell silent as Chris got up and walked to claim what was rightfully his. Everyone was cheering and clapping their hands. Summer was everything he has ever wanted, and more. It was a no-brainer for Chris. He knew he wanted to spend the rest of his life with her. As soon as he received his diploma, he grabbed her hand and asked her to spend the rest of her life with him. She happily agreed, and the young couple was ecstatic. Chris was now faced with another daunting task, as he didn't want Summer to be the only one who walked down the aisle. Soon after their wedding, the young couple began discussing expanding their family. Chris couldn't wait to grow his little family. If he were to tell his younger self where he would end up in life, his younger self would laugh. With hard work and determination, both Chris and Riona fought to get the life they deserved, and it just shows that anything can happen if you put your mind to it.